In a world built on imitation, conformity is currency. They don't teach you to stand out. They teach you to behave. Sit still. Smile politely. Wear the mask. Stay in line. Because the moment you step out of formation, the moment you speak too loudly, dress too wildly, laugh too freely, they'll call you a threat. But what if being a threat is exactly what sets you free? Let me ask you something. Most people are too afraid to answer. What part of yourself have you buried just to belong? We live in a carnival of masks. The streets are parades of people pretending. The office cubicles, classrooms, family dinners, they're all stages in the grand circus of fitting in, and maybe you've been the silent clown, painted a smile on your soul just to survive. But here's the twist. The ones who laugh loudest in chaos, the ones who wear madness like a crown, they're not broken, they're awake. I want to introduce you to someone. He walked into the world like a glitch in the system. His hair dyed like spilled gasoline. His clothes, loud, chaotic, unapologetic. They said he looked insane, but when he laughed, the world trembled. They called him dangerous, and he was not because he had a gun, not because he had a bomb, but because he didn't need approval. He didn't crave validation. He didn't kneel at the altar of society's rules. His name doesn't matter. What matters is, he chose not to fit in, and that made him unstoppable. Society fears what it cannot control, and individuality, true, raw, dangerous individuality, is uncontrollable. We're taught that being different is wrong, that blending in is safety, that standing out is arrogance. But tell me, what if fitting in is the real danger? What if dying a copy is the greatest tragedy? There's a war out there, not with guns or missiles, but with silence, suppression, shame. They want you to dim your flame, so they don't have to confront their own shadows. They want you muted so they can stay numb. They want you average so they don't feel inadequate. But you weren't born to be average. You were born to be a fire in a world soaked in gasoline. And yes, it's dangerous. You will be judged, mocked, feared. You will walk into rooms where people whisper. You will feel the sting of isolation, the cold of nonconformity. But in that cold, something else awakens. Power. The power to define yourself. The power to create without permission. The power to laugh, not politely, but loudly, maniacally, authentically. That's the laugh of someone who's free. So here's the question that will shape everything from this point forward. Why fit in when you were born to stand out like a bomb in a library? Because the truth is, this world doesn't reward the obedient. It remembers the wild ones, the rebels, the freaks, the ones who painted their pain in neon and turned their scars into signatures. And you are one dangerous decision away from becoming unforgettable. Welcome to your rebellion. They tell you to be normal. What the hell does that even mean? Normal is a leash. Normal is the prison disguised as comfort. Normal is the sound of dreams dying in silence. When they say, just be normal, what they really mean is be predictable, be manageable, be forgettable. You see it everywhere. The school that tells the loud kid to sit down and shut up. The workplace that fires the creative mind for not following procedure. The friend who says, why can't you just be like everyone else? Because you're not supposed to be like everyone else. That's the point. You weren't born to wear their gray uniforms. You weren't meant to speak in their hushed tones, to laugh only when it's appropriate, to dream only within approved boundaries. But they fear you, not because you're broken, but because you're awake, and nothing terrifies the system more than someone who's no longer asleep. Let me tell you a story. There was a girl who painted her face in broken glass and neon green. She danced alone in the rain while others hid beneath their umbrellas. People laughed. People stared. They called her weird, unstable, dangerous. Until the day she walked into a room full of suits, tore off her gloves, and made the entire place hold its breath. She didn't need to scream to be heard. Her presence was an act of war. Years later, those same people who mocked her called her a genius. The difference? She didn't bend. She didn't fold into the mold. She shattered it and built her own throne from the pieces. That's dangerous individuality. That's the power they fear. You're not meant to fit into the system. You're meant to shake it. And if your voice makes people uncomfortable, good, speak louder. If your style turns heads and sparks gossip, wear it like armor. If your laughter echoes too wildly in the silence, let it become your battle cry. They will say you're too much, too loud, too wild, too intense. But the truth is, they're just too weak to handle your fire. Never tone yourself down to make someone else comfortable in their mediocrity. This world doesn't need more normal. It needs more fire breathers, chaos makers, rule breakers. And yes, it'll be lonely sometimes. You'll sit at tables where everyone looks at you like you're the punchline. You'll hear the whispers, feel the judgment, taste the rejection. But here's the secret: they don't want you to know. The more they try to silence you, the more you become a legend. Because they don't write songs about the quiet. They don't build statues for the obedient. They don't remember those who walked the line. They remember the ones who burned it to the ground. So when they say be normal, smile, then tear that word into pieces and use it to light your fuse. Let your rebellion begin. The world wants you to fear chaos. But what they never told you is this: chaos isn't your enemy, it's your canvas. They told you that if things feel out of control, something is wrong, that you must fix it, calm it, tame it. But what if? What if the very chaos they fear is where you come alive? The Joker didn't become powerful by avoiding chaos. He became powerful by dancing with it. He painted his madness onto the streets, colored every rule in crimson, and made the system bleed creativity it never knew it had. Chaos is where the old structures fall. Chaos is where the weak scream. Chaos is where the real ones rise. Do you remember that moment in your life when everything collapsed? Maybe it was the betrayal you didn't see coming. Maybe it was losing everything you thought made you who you are. Maybe it was waking up one day and realizing no one ever truly saw you. That moment, dark, brutal, raw, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your art. Let me say this clearly. You were not broken in chaos. You were revealed. The truth about you, the wild, untamable, unfiltered you, can only be seen when the world stops pretending. In the ashes of your expectations, in the fire of your failures, the real you screams. And the world can't handle that scream, so they try to silence it. With pills, with shame, with you're just being dramatic. But you know what I say to that? Be dramatic. Burn bright. Bleed color. Let your chaos speak. Because order has never created anything revolutionary. Order builds prisons. But chaos builds legends. Picasso was called mad. Van Gogh was a failure until his art haunted museums. Joker, he was a villain, until people realized he wasn't just laughing at the world, he was laughing because it finally made sense to go mad. And maybe, just maybe, madness isn't weakness. Maybe it's the only sane response to an insane world. So here's your challenge tonight. Find the one place in your life that feels most chaotic and create something from it. Write a manifesto with your blood. Paint a mural with your scars. Film a scene where you scream until the silence breaks, and share it. With no filter, no apology, no shame. Tag it #ChaosUnleashedChallenge. Let the world see that your madness is not a flaw, it's a rebellion, a revolution, a renaissance of realness. Because your chaos is art, your madness is magic, and your refusal to fit in, that's your masterpiece. So stop hiding your disorder. Stop polishing your edges. The Joker didn't apologize for being chaos incarnate, and neither should you. But they gave you a script. The moment you were born, here's who you're supposed to be, they whispered. Here's how to act. Here's how to think. Here's who you're allowed to love. Here's what you're allowed to feel. Follow this path. Stay in this box. Play your part. But what if the part you were cast in makes your soul rot? What if the lines they wrote for you feel like lies sliding off your tongue? What if deep down, you're not meant to be the obedient child, the silent worker, the polite little echo in a world of noise. You were meant to rewrite the damn play. They gave you a character, you give them chaos. They wanted a puppet, you became the spark. Because here's what they fear most: a mind that writes its own story. Let me tell you about a boy named Nathan. He was quiet, always followed the rules, smiled when told to, apologized for his existence. People liked him, but no one remembered him. Then one day he snapped. He walked into school wearing a crimson trench coat and silver rings on every finger. His eyes burned with something new, something untouchable. He didn't ask to sit at anyone's table. He flipped the table and built his own throne from its wreckage. And suddenly, the same people who ignored him now whispered about him. Some called him dangerous, others called him alive. All he did was burn the script, the one they handed him in silence, the one that told him to be nice, to not make trouble, to just fit in. He set fire to it, and in the ashes, he finally saw his reflection. And for the first time, he smiled without permission. You want to know why you feel out of place in this world? It's because you weren't meant to be placed. You were meant to explode. You weren't born to repeat lines. You were born to improvise, disrupt, dismantle. They'll call you rude, reckless, a misfit. Good, let them. Because when you reject their script, something happens. They panic. They can't categorize you. They can't control you. They can't define you. And that is the most terrifying thing you can be in a world obsessed with labels, undefined. So here's your assignment. No, your rebellion. Tonight, take the script they gave you, the expectations, the roles, the labels, and burn it. Literally. Write it down if you have to. Everything they told you you had to be. Then light it. Watch the smoke rise like a phoenix. Because from that ash comes the real story. Your story, not theirs. Let the world choke on the smoke of your liberation. Let them watch you dance where they once told you to kneel. Let them call it madness, because they'll never understand what freedom truly looks like. And freedom, my friend, looks a lot like fire. There's a mask you've worn for so long, you forgot it wasn't your face. It smiles when they expect it. It nods at the right times. It says, "I'm fine," even when you're drowning inside. And they love that mask, because it's convenient, palatable, non-threatening. It doesn't make waves. It doesn't question. It doesn't scream. But here's the price. Every time you wear it, the real you dies a little more. The Joker knew something society wants you to forget. Wearing a mask for too long turns into suffocation. They don't want your truth. They want your compliance. They don't want your wildness. They want your obedience. They want the smile, not the scars. But the scars, that's where your story lives. You've bled behind that mask, cried into its fibers, begged for someone, anyone, to see through it. And maybe once, someone almost did. But the second your truth showed too much edge, too much chaos, too much you, they stepped back. Too intense, they said. Too much. Translation: you're too real for their fake world. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who wore the perfect mask, corporate job, polished words, clean shoes, dead eyes. He played his part so well, they gave him awards, applause, promotions. But he couldn't sleep. Not because he was overworked, but because at night, when the mask came off, he didn't recognize the thing underneath. One night, he stood in front of a mirror with a blade in hand, not to hurt himself, but to cut the mask away. And in the reflection, bloodied but free, he saw something terrifying. He saw himself, for the first time. Not the version they applauded, not the version they accepted, the version that laughed too loud, cried when it wasn't convenient, created chaos just to feel alive. He wasn't broken, he was buried. And that night, he swore never to wear the mask again. You don't need to destroy yourself to be loved. You need to destroy the illusion that being loved means being fake. Because the longer you perform, the more you forget the lines were never yours to begin with. Here's your challenge. Tonight, take off one mask. Just one. Say the thing you've been swallowing for years. Wear the outfit you were told was too much. Cry in front of someone without apologizing for it. Laugh too loud in a place that expects silence. Let the real you bleed through. And if they flinch, good, that means they never deserved you anyway, because the people who matter won't love the mask. They'll love the scars, the fire, the madness, the mess. They'll love you, and that's worth more than all the applause in the world. They teach you to kneel before you're even old enough to stand. Be polite. Don't question your elders. Don't speak unless spoken to. Know your place, and that place is at the bottom of the pyramid. Quiet, grateful, obedient. But here's what they never expected. That one day, the quiet one would stand up, and not just stand, but burn the damn pyramid down. Because you weren't born to bow, you were born to break the system that demands it. The world thrives on hierarchy, on power games, on invisible chains they call manners, etiquette, tradition. But if the tradition is built on silencing your truth, if the etiquette means shrinking yourself to fit their comfort, if the manners mean sacrificing your madness for their mediocrity, then it's time to go nuclear. Let me tell you about Raven. She worked a soul-sucking job in a firm that praised team players, but punished anyone who challenged the norm. She had fire in her ideas, color in her soul, but every time she spoke up, they said, "That's not how we do things here." Translation? Stay in line. Stay in your cage. Die quietly. Until one day, Raven didn't show up in beige and black like everyone else. She walked in wearing blood-red combat boots and a leather jacket covered in handwritten quotes that screamed, "I'm not here to blend in." They told her to change. She smiled. They threatened her job. She laughed. They isolated her. She became the entire damn room. Within weeks, she was gone, but not forgotten. And the day she left, she wrote one final message on the office whiteboard in permanent ink. "I don't kneel, I ignite." Some called her reckless, some called her crazy, but you know what they couldn't call her? Powerless. Because the moment you stop asking for permission is the moment you become dangerous. This world doesn't give power. It hides it, buries it, under shame, guilt, and don't make a scene. But your scene is exactly what the world needs. Your madness, your refusal, your eruption. So here's your rebellion tonight. Do something that makes you impossible to ignore. Send the message you were too scared to send. Walk into the room wearing what makes you feel like a goddamn storm. Say the truth that's been locked behind your teeth for years. Break one rule that was built to keep you small. Make noise. Make art. Make war if you must. But whatever you do, don't kneel. They want your silence. Give them your scream. Since childhood, they've warned you about the monsters. Be careful. Don't be too loud. Don't be too weird. Don't be too weird. Don't draw too much attention. But here's the twisted irony. The monsters they warned you about were people like you, the ones who didn't conform, the ones who spoke too boldly, the ones who refused to kneel. You were never the danger they feared. You were the mirror that exposed their lies. Society doesn't hate rebels because they're wrong. It hates them because they're right. Because their very existence proves that the game is rigged, the rules are a lie, and the cage is imaginary. And once people see that, once they realize that madness might be freedom in disguise, everything collapses. That's why they fear you. You challenge the illusion. You disturb the comfort. You threaten their fantasy. Let me paint a picture for you. A boy sits in the back of a classroom, doodles in the margins, writes poetry in math class, speaks in metaphors that no one understands. He's not broken. He's building another reality. But they call him distracted. They medicate him. They silence him. Why? Because his mind is too loud for their small world. But one day he'll rise, with notebooks full of chaos and a heart full of fire. And when he does, they'll say, he came out of nowhere. No, he came out of the cage you built for him. They'll call you a monster because you won't comply. They'll call you unstable because you won't collapse on cue. They'll call you insane because you dare to be unashamed. Good, let them call you names, because monsters don't play by the rules. Monsters make new ones. And you're the worst kind of monster. Not the kind that hides under beds, but the kind that rips the bed apart and sets the room on fire. So here's your mission, your madness, your moment. Be the monster they warned each other about in whispers. Say what makes them squirm. Create what makes them question reality. Laugh when they expect you to apologize. Exist so unapologetically, so vividly, so loudly that they can't breathe in your presence. You don't owe this world your silence. You owe it your storm. Because somewhere out there, a kid who feels like a freak is watching you right now. They're hiding in their room, afraid of their own reflection, afraid of being too much. They need someone to go first, to show them what unleashed humanity looks like. Let that someone be you, be the monster, be the mirror, be the madness, and never ever be sorry for it. You've spent your life trying to be water, fluid, acceptable, contained. They told you to adapt, to go with the flow, to be easy to handle, but water can drown. Water can be caged. It's time to become fire, uncontainable, unpredictable, unforgiving. Because when you become fire, you don't adapt, you force adaptation. The world doesn't shape you, you reshape the world. And yes, fire burns. It will burn bridges, burn masks, burn every version of you that was built to be liked instead of feared. But here's the truth. It's better to be feared for your truth than loved for your illusion. They'll say, you've changed. Good, that means you've escaped. They'll say, you've become too much. Perfect, that means you've finally arrived. They'll try to put you out, with guilt, with shame, with judgment. But they'll fail, because you're no longer a spark. You are wildfire. You are the scream they tried to silence, the chaos they couldn't cage, the art they tried to erase. And now, you're everywhere. You burn through every conversation where they expect small talk. You erupt in rooms where conformity used to choke the air. You set fire to traditions that never saw you as human, only as a tool. And yes, it's dangerous, because free people are dangerous. People who have nothing to prove, only to express. People who no longer beg for validation, but walk like storms through cities of sleepwalkers. That's what Joker did. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't soften his laugh to comfort the nervous. He didn't apologize for setting the circus on fire. He became the fire. And once you do that, something irreversible happens. They can't unsee you. They can't unfeel you. They can't unlearn the world you burned down. So here's the dare. Become the fire. Say what you've always wanted to scream. Build what the world told you couldn't exist. Burn the scripts, the masks, the chains. Show up in your full, unfiltered form. And let the world adjust or get scorched. Because you weren't born to be manageable. You were born to be unforgettable. Let them call you fire. Let them call you chaos. Let them call you a threat. Just never let them call you normal. The system survives on silence. It feeds on your obedience. It thrives on your fear. It grows stronger every time you say yes when your soul is screaming. But all it takes to collapse that system is one uncontrollable laugh, not the laugh of politeness, not the laugh of fitting in, the laugh of someone who's done pretending. That's the laugh Joker gave the world, not because everything was fine, but because he finally stopped lying to himself. And that's what I want from you. Stop lying to yourself. You were never meant to be quiet. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to beg for a seat at their table. You were born to flip it over and build your own. Everything they told you was too much about you, was the exact thing that makes you unforgettable. Your chaos is divine. Your madness is medicine. Your difference is not a disease. It's a declaration. And that declaration, it's time you shouted it into the bones of this dying world. Let them hear you. Let them feel you. Let them lose sleep trying to erase the memory of your voice, echoing through the ruins of their rules. Be loud, not for applause, not for validation. Be loud because your silence is fuel for their control, and you're done being fuel. You're the fire now. So here's how we end this. Laugh in the face of their expectations. Laugh as you tear the mask off your face and throw it into the fire. Laugh as you walk away from their systems, their scripts, their cages. Laugh because you're finally free. And if they call you crazy, smile, because they finally understand that dangerous individuality isn't a threat to the world. It's a threat to the lie they've built on top of it. And you are the truth beneath the madness. So go, burn brightly, walk boldly, laugh loudly, and never apologize for being the monster, the fire, the legend they never saw coming.